Mitchell Starc went for $1 trillion at the start of this IPL. It's probably somewhere around 24.5 crores, but let's be honest, he became the highest officially paid player in IPL history, certainly the highest in a mega auction. And when you have a look at this, it didn't go particularly well for Kolkata, right? This is dollars per wicket in US dollars. And Jasprit Bumrah did very well. Now remember, Jasprit Bumrah is definitely being paid more money than this. If you look at the actual amount that they've taken out of the salary cap, this is how much Bumrah takes out of the salary cap, and this is how much Mitchell Starc takes out of the salary cap. Now, Bumrah is great, and this is a very unfair bowler to compare him with. But Bumrah has the most wickets in the league, and Mitchell Starc is very famous for taking a lot of wickets. You would have expected him to take a lot more wickets than he has this year. It's not been the greatest of times for Mitchell Starc. In fact, even more than that, it's not actually been a particularly good season for him based on the very little amount of IPL he has played before. In 2014, he took 14 wickets. He had a good true economy, and he was about par with wickets. Maybe less than you would have liked, but not terrible. 2015 was a season. He took 0.78 more wickets than we would have expected from the overs he bowled, and he went at 1.45 runs and over less. His actual raw numbers are more impressive than this, if we're being honest. But we deal with true rates here, and his true rates are still really good. Let's just head all the way over here to this year. This is before today. He was 1.38 runs and over worse than what we would expect. Just go back over here. He's basically flipped what he was doing in true economy. He is 3 runs worse than he was before per over when it comes to true strike rate. And wickets, he did actually take some wickets this year. They just haven't felt all that impactful, right? At no stage have we looked at him and thought to ourselves, wow, he's doing absolutely brilliantly here. Most stages we've looked at him and we've said what Rob Barron from Cricket 8 has said a lot. How much money have they spent on this guy? And the thing is that for a lot of us, we knew this was going to happen beforehand. I have been long on the train of Mitchell Starc being one of the greatest white ball bowlers of all time. If I am off the train on Mitchell Starc, that means you should not be spending all of your pocket money on employing this guy. And that's essentially what KKR did. They've been really lucky to get out of it so well as they have this year. And of course, he was not the only expensive bowler in this IPL, was he? He wasn't even the only expensive Australian bowler in this IPL. Coming into today, Cummins was a lot better. He's had a par season. This isn't a great season if you're an overseas player, certainly if you're not paid as much as Pat Cummins, although you're also getting captaincy, so we have to remember that, and a tiny little bit with the bat occasionally. In fact, he probably was their second best batter in the game today. The first half of the season, Cummins bowled really, really well, and then he has struggled. But he's still massively better than what Mitchell Starc is, right? It's not even a comparison. Cummins is not a great wicket taker, and that has never been his main skill in white ball cricket, although, in one-day cricket he could certainly take wickets, but he's taking his wickets at essentially par, and his true economy is 0.8 better than what it should be. That's a really good effort. He's had a way better season than Mitchell Starc, and I wouldn't say that all things considered, especially the last few games, that Pat Cummins has had a brilliant season. It's just been way better than Mitchell Starc, and Mitchell Starc was paid more, bats at about the same level, but maybe not even as good in T20 cricket, if we're being honest, and doesn't captain. The Sunrisers got a lot more out of their overinvestment in Pat Cummins than Kolkata did out of their one with Mitchell Starc.
If you need a VPN, go Nord. Use nordvpn.com/Kimber to get a 2-year contract with a discount, plus 4 extra months, plus gifts in some markets. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the show notes. Protect your computer like a blocker protects the stumps with NordVPN today.
So let's have a look at the individual games of Mitchell Starc this year. You can see here, this is how many wickets he took in the game and the economy rate. Everyone's allowed to have one bad game, even if you're getting $7.8 trillion. But there's a lot of bad games here. And you can see with Mitchell Starc that there is a very, very obvious pattern. In the games where he doesn't take wickets, he goes for a lot of runs. He doesn't have any economical games when he's not taking any wickets, and then the minute he starts to take wickets, he has good games. So you can see here 3 wickets at an economy rate of 7. You've got 2 wickets at an economy rate of 8.33, and you've got another one up here of 4 wickets at an economy rate of 8.6. All of these are very, very good games, right? But considering how his season has been and when he took wickets, and also the fact he should have had an LBW that they forgot to review as well. This was an exceptional game. His last over was probably the only time he wasn't completely on top of it. He was swinging the ball, he was fast, and he went through Travis Head like he wasn't there, and the other batters weren't looking all that much more comfortable with him. This was a fantastic game. This is the game that you want a player to play when you have paid them all that money. And we see 4+ games and a lot of negative games here. This is not the season that KKR was expecting when they spent all that money. They expected a lot more of this, but what a time to get this. And when we have a look at his form this year, it hasn't been particularly good. You can see here that he's marginally down on dot balls, although that's basically par. He's much better when it comes to singles. People aren't scoring singles off him, and they're not scoring 2s off him, or 3s, right? That's really good. These are good things to have. It means it's hard to get you away, except for the fact that he's had 20% more 4s hit off him than we would expect. That is an awful lot of 4s, right? And he's also getting hit for 6s more than average as well. Now, it's not as bad. This is really the bad one. The 6s aren't as bad, but when you play a bowler as much as Mitchell Starc, you don't really want them to be hit 6s at an above average rate. But it's the fact that both of these are at above average. You really should be able to control at least one of these 3. And he's negative when it comes to dot balls. He's negative when it comes to the amount of 6s he's hit from. And he's negative when it comes to the amount of 4s. And the reason that teams aren't scoring singles and 2s and 3s off him is because they keep hitting everything for 4 over and over again. And if we look at him by phases, we could see that coming into today, he didn't really have a phase that you want him to bowl. From over 7 to 11, he's basically not bowled. It's 1 over. So we can disregard that. From overs 12 to 16, he's bowled 4 overs, and he hasn't taken wickets, and his economy rate is fine. But this is, again, not exactly what you bring Mitchell Starc in. If you want Mitchell Starc, you want him for the top and the tail. Well, before today, he was going at 2 runs and over worse in the power play than all the other bowlers who bowled those overs. And he had taken wickets, and he was slightly ahead of par, but not where you want Mitchell Starc to be. Certainly not enough to overcome the fact that he's being hit so much. And then at the death, I actually think he's been worse at the death than he has been anywhere else. He is taking wickets at the death, but a lot of those came in clumps in games when they were pretty much already in front. But his true economy at the death is minus 1.4. And for me, it's the fact that he's looked almost clueless, right? He's going at almost 14 runs and over when bowling at the death, looking at raw stats, which is only minus 0.1, which is only minus 1.4 when you look at it. This is not good. He should not be in this situation. This is really, really horrendous. If you have your overseas star bowler going for these numbers, and this is where you want him, at least if he had one section up here, maybe if it was 12 to 16 and he could come in and chip in and get wickets for you. He has no plus areas in this season. And today he completely blew that out of the water by being magnificent in this section. But remember, last game, or was it the game before? Recently anyway, he only was allowed to bowl 1 over because they had stopped trusting him. What a game to regain their trust. And one thing that I've noticed this year is that I felt he's been okay against right-handers. But I just had this theory that he wasn't as good against left-handers. And I'm going to talk about that for a couple of reasons. One is, I was right. He's been fantastic against right-handers. Well, compared to how he's been against left-handers. He's been par against right-handers. So when he's going up against right-handers, he's managed to hold his own and be fine. The minute he starts bowling to left-handers, it goes horribly wrong. Have a look at this true economy. He is minus 3.8 runs per over against left-handers. How is that even possible? And he still managed to take their wickets, but he's just been absolutely humped by them. And why am I telling you all this? Think about who he got out today. Travis Head. And yes, Travis Head went out to a left-arm bowler recently. We understand that. Again, early on, twice he's played outside the line to a left-arm bowler he's expecting to get some swing who hasn't got as much swing. But this is a big turnaround for Mitchell Starc. And realistically, he should never be this bad against left-handers. I would argue he should never be this bad against right-handers. He's way too good for pretty much every number I've showed you today. But this is absolutely diabolical. And to get Travis Head out today, you couldn't have a better comeback against left-handers than we just saw. And why is he so bad against these southpaws? Well, I've got a theory. A little while ago, Cricket Australia really pushed on him that he needed to learn the wobble ball. Now, of course, that was at the peak craze of the wobble ball. You know, Hazelwood and Cummins were bowling incredibly with it. Scott Boland had it an entire career. And so they said to Mitchell Starc, if you can do that, you can be more of a threat for longer in the game. And it works in red ball cricket and it works in white ball cricket, and it's really great. The problem is that a lot of bowlers, when they try the wobble ball, the first thing they lose is their ability to swing the ball. It really does take away the swing quite a bit. And Mitchell Starc never really nailed the wobble ball. He was never brilliant at it, and it lost his swing so much. If you remember in the last World Cup in Australia, T20 World Cup anyway, in Australia, he was almost unbowlable at times because he couldn't swing the ball anymore. Have a look at this. Have a look at his swing per games all the way through this tournament and how little swing he has managed. To a left-hander, that's probably his best skill, is the ability to swing it away. Against a right-hander, he still has his angle and he has his bounce. Against a left-hander, he's just fast, and he's not quite as fast as he used to be. If he's swinging the ball, he's still dangerous. Today, he swung the ball at 2.87 degrees. That's a lot of swing. To explain this in another way, Varun Chakravarti wasn't even spinning the ball 1 degree today. So to be swinging the ball 3 times as much as that at pace as a left armer when you're really good at cricket, when everything works for you, that is the difference. When Mitch Starc can swing the ball, his ceiling is as high as it ever was. And let's be honest, his ceiling is way higher than most white ball bowlers has ever been. The problem is he doesn't swing the ball consistently enough. And today, the ball was swinging for both the bowlers. It obviously was a friendly ball that wanted to swing, and Mitchell Starc was, wow, the Mitchell Starc of World Cups previous, when he was almost unplayable. But this is where I want to finish off today, and I really like this. This is his pitch map to right-handers and left-handers in this tournament so far. What do you see here? What's his length? What's his line? What's his point of attack? There's a whole bunch of full tosses that he's got wrong. There's a whole bunch of wide balls that have got away from him. Look at all this stuff. Sometimes you look at a pitch map of a player and you say, he's got this plan and he's got this backup plan and these are his deliveries. I'm not really sure, looking at this, what Mitchell Starc's main point of attack is. It's not bowling wide. It's not bowling a good length. It's not bowling back of a length. He's just bowled kind of everywhere, and sometimes it's worked, and more often than not, it hasn't. But the thing about this is, this actually takes us back to young Mitch Starc. Not the great World Cup bowling Mitch Starc, but the young one. The one that people in the Australian team didn't even want to go into the nets and face because he had absolutely no idea what he was bowling from ball to ball. And quite often that means, especially in modern cricket, that Mitch Starc is going to go for runs. But do you know what this reminds me of when I look at a pitch map like this? It reminds me of Jackson Pollock. And the thing with Jackson Pollock is, a lot of people look at this mess and just go, it's all random, it doesn't mean anything. But they don't see the art of Jackson Pollock. Mitchell Starc still has an art to his bowling. It may not always be on purpose, and maybe some of the skill might be that one day you face him and it doesn't swing at all, and so you can smash him everywhere, and then the next time you face him, you think you're going to do that again, and he just swings it, and you have no idea. Today, if we asked Mitchell Starc, he might not even be able to tell us why he was that good. But he was that good. And so today, Mitchell Starc found art in the unlikeliest of places. And because of that, the Sunrisers were basically not in the game. They were, dare I say it, painted out of the picture.
If you make any content, Minvo Pro is the tool for you. Take your long format content and cut it and slice it for social media. This AI-inspired weapon will turn your one piece of work into so many clips. Try Minvo.pro now.